Welcome to Cole's Celebration of Life. He was born March 31st, 2008, and he passed away on August 16th, 2024. And we appreciate you all coming here to celebrate his life with us. And for the house people, we can just let people in when they arrive. We have our family here. We have Ella, Cole's sister, 14. Ryan, Cole's dad. Janice, Cole's grandma. Ron, Cole's grandpa. Colson, Cole's best friend. Kim, his mom. And my parents are down in the front row here, Joy and Greg Miller. And Jill is here. Hi, Jill. Hi. Jill is Cole's aunt. So we have a really we're excited about it, performance today. Cole found theater in his last 2 years of life. Well, he found theater before that, but he really honed into theater his last 2 years of life. And we decided to put on a theatrical production in his honor to celebrate his life. We're going to do this in 3 acts plus remembrance, Arizona, elementary years, and middle, high school, and cancer, with a guest performance by his oncologist, and remembrance and legacy. I'm going to give the mic to Ron and Janice just to say a few words.
Hi. Can you hear me? There, that's good. I'm Janice Frederking, Cole's grandma, Ella's grandma, and I'm from Wisconsin, and I'm here with Ron, and we are often known as Nani and Bob. Ron and I first met Cole only hours after he was born in Arizona. And we were lucky to spend the first 7 years of his life with him there. When Ella came along, 2 years later, the love between the two of them, brother and sister, was palpable. Cole was a really good big brother, even when Ella gave him a hard time. We attended many soccer and baseball games of Cole's, and we once watched him score 5 goals in one match. His nickname on that team was Dash, because he was so fast. I'll bet you didn't know that Cole was part owner, well, shareholder, in the Green Bay Packers. He always told me he really had no choice because his parents are from Wisconsin and both sets of grandparents are from Wisconsin. So he didn't have any choice, he claimed. When Cole was little, I asked him the typical question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Cole said, number 1, a baseball player. Number 2, a soccer player. And number 3, an actor. I was surprised by number 3. Even all those years before his work in the stage flight theater group, he knew what his true calling was, and he was able to fulfill his dream. Cole was fun to be around. He was humorous, insightful, kind, and we think rather an old soul. He put a smile on people's faces all the time. He was just a great kid. We spent the last 8 weeks of Cole's life here with him and his family in Colorado. We played board games, Risk, not good, and a lot of Texas Hold'em with him and all of his buddies and many, many friends. And we did a lot of watching the Milwaukee Brewers. And the thing that he loved the most when we were playing those games was that the rain fell almost every late afternoon, early evening. And he loved to watch the rain. So many cherished memories that will always be remembered by us and his wonderful, loyal friends. Cole really, really loved his family and friends. what an unbelievable support you have all been to this family. And we too have felt that love. Thank you so much. The impact Cole has had on the powerful way he lived his life has hopefully taught us how to go on without him. Thank you, Cole, for enriching our lives and providing us with golden memories. We miss him terribly, and we'll always remember him. It is a privilege to say his name, Cole Ronald Frederking. Thank you.
My parents, Cole's grandparents, Joy and Greg, are going to speak.
If you don't mind, I'm not going to stand up. I don't think I could have said anything better than Janice did. Everything she said was true and more. I'm his proud gra-gra. Cole was learning to talk and he couldn't say grandma, and I didn't have any idea about any nicknames that I heard so much about from my friends who were grandparents. So Cole got gra-gra out, and gra-gra I have remained. He managed grandpa, so I'm not sure. One of the things that, well, again, Janice said everything correctly and more. I'm so proud to be a grandparent of Cole and Ella, and all those years of taking pictures. Cole always had his arm around Ella, or Ella had her head on his shoulder. They showed such devotion and love for each other, and you could just see it in the pictures. Being in Wisconsin most of the time, I texted it every day and tried to find things that might give us mouthful of space. And sometimes I did. But what he enjoyed a lot was the fact that when he lost his hair, I started shaving my head. And I kept going, and I kept asking him if he would like to do it. But he was so worried about nicking my head. And I said, that's why they put guards on there. So we would Grandpa would shave my head and we'd tape it and then we'd send it to him. And he did like that. And I did it in solidarity because it was the least I could do. There's so many favorite memories, but one of the favorite ones was when he was just learning to walk and he had like one of those childhood walkers and brightly colored, which was also his nature. And he discovered that he could actually walk fast. And then all of a sudden, this was in Phoenix, and they had a pretty long hallway. And he discovered that instead of walking fast, he could run. And his face lit up like the sun. And he didn't stop, he just kept going back and forth with happiness just radiating off of him. And he seemed to do pretty well when he was racing all those years later, although he did admit that, I don't want to do that again, but he always did. And jeepers, I didn't really prepare anything. That's why I was so glad Janice did such a great job. So my time's up. Bye.
I'm Grandpa. I didn't have any special name. But I think everything everyone says is true. But what I found the biggest thing with Cole was he was always curious. And I always felt a step, a two yeah, I've done like 4, maybe 5. He says to me, Grandpa, if you take a rope from that board and put a hook on this end, you can hook it on a screen door and get in without having to fight it all the time. I still had that same rope on the door, and every time I put it on, I get a little tear in my eye to think of him. But the other story I just want to tell that I thought was very interesting too. Cole was never a sleeper. He always stayed up all night long. I think he can assure you of that. And I always watch the late shows when they come to our house twice a year, the talk shows. And he would sneak down right after the monologue and say, Mom and Dad are asleep. Now I can talk with you. And he would sit down. He'd have this whole litany of questions he had wanted to ask. And being older, and my father was born way back in 1905, he always wanted to hear about the old times. And I'd tell him stories about the old times, and he'd say, I gotta think about that. And then he'd have other questions he'd ask me that were way ahead of what his age was. He was only 7 and 8. And he'd ask me questions about this or about that. He said, what did you do when you didn't have cell phones? He'd ask me, I'd have to tell him how you'd have to do that. And when you call for a date, sometimes your biggest fear was you had to talk to the mother first. You didn't want to do that. And he thought about that, and he said, yeah, now you don't have to do that. But anyways, it was, those conversations were wonderful, and he would ask me questions all the way through the show. The only time he'd stop was when there was an actress on that had a different accent, like an English actress. He'd say, Grandpa, listen to that. That's a cool voice. But anyways, when the show was over, I said, we gotta go to bed now. Cole, we gotta go to bed now. He'd come over and he'd put his arms around my neck and hug me and say, thank you for all the information, Grandpa. I'm gonna remember all that and think about it. And I can still feel that today with him hugging me. So, those are my stories. Thank you all for coming.
Today we are here to celebrate the life of a remarkable young man, Cole. His journey, though filled with countless challenges, was a testament to resilience, love, and the deep bond of friendship. I'm Lindsay, and I've had the honor of knowing Cole since he was in the 2nd grade, watching him grow alongside my son, Colson. From the moment they met in Mrs. Good's 2nd grade class, Cole and Colson's bond was undeniable. That was the beginning of a remarkable friendship filled with laughter and countless adventures, whether swimming together, bouncing on the trampoline, camping with the Boy Scouts, or simply enjoying each other's company. I will forever cherish the photos of those memories that captured those sweet, innocent moments filled with hugs and the purest expressions of love. When cancer struck, Cole fought valiantly, following the doctor's advice and so much more. Amidst this battle, his true focus remained on what mattered most, his family and his friends. He found joy in attending school, excelling in his studies, and discovering a newfound passion for theater, where he could connect with so many wonderful people. Cole showed us that strength lies not just in fighting our battles, but how we live each day. As Colson and Cole moved to high school, they were able to spend a lot more time together again. They experienced homecomings, participated in theater productions, and joked around at lunch. They had the innate ability to communicate without words, knowing when to talk about the serious stuff and when to simply enjoy playing video games together. This rare connection is the kind of friendship many seek, but very few find. This summer, as Cole's treatment options dwindled, I watched as he navigated the seriousness of the situation. Cole remained focused on what truly mattered. This summer, he played poker with his grandparents and friends, celebrated his sister's birthday, and in his own way, showed how he truly cared for his loved ones. Right to the end, by making sure they would be taken care of when he was gone. As I look around the room, I am overwhelmed by the number of lives Cole touched Cole made Colson feel seen. And what's remarkable is that he also made so many of us feel valued and seen as well. Even in his darkest times, Cole could look into someone's eyes and understand their feelings and offer support and kindness whenever it was needed. Cole demonstrated that true love can be expressed even in the hardest of times. He was an incredible friend to Colson and countless others. He was a loving son and teacher to Kim and Ryan, the goat to his grandparents, and a devoted playmate and brother to Ella. Cole proved that strength lies not just in fighting battles, but how we embrace life, love, and friendship.
Yeah, sorry to repeat, but yeah, hi, my name is Colson. I was Cole's best friend since second grade. Thank you all for being here to honor him. I could go on and on about experiences I've had with him, but something that sticks out was after elementary school, we would walk to his house, which just a block away, and we'd talk about video games or like Marvel or something stupid like that. And then we'd hang out in his basement playing Mario Kart or Roblox or something stupid. And that memory sticks out to me because it was before the world got scarier. When I learned that he was diagnosed, I cried in my room for what seemed like a week. I felt scared, sad, hopeless, but I knew I didn't want to leave his side. I'm glad that I never did, and I was there until the end, with playing poker with his family and grabbing some friends to play board games with over the summer. Cole had a different mindset, though. He was always looking on the bright side, studying, showing a fighter spirit. He inspired so many of us to be better, including me. One of the things I will always be grateful for is pushing me into the Mountain Vista Theater. He made me sign up for Governing Alice, and that completely changed my life. I can't imagine where I would be without the theater and the wonderful people in it. He's the reason I have that. I'd like to think that Cole's spirit of positivity and resilience will always be with us and live on through the lives he touched. I know he will always be with me, and I will miss him in the future with big events like performances, weddings, graduations. And I want to thank you, Cole, for just being a huge part of my life. We'll all miss.
I probably should have brought reading glasses. You can laugh at me, it's well-deserved. It's fairly impossible for me to speak about or recollect on the amazing young man that I grew to know and admire when he was a freshman. This is really weird because that quiet, unassuming, masked, big-eyed, hat-wearing kid was so overshadowed by the giant that he became. Like I literally look in my mind and I can't. I don't see him. I only see the behemoth that remains. Cole. It's a celebration. I've got my hanky. When hope had been sung unwanted lullabies, all we could do, some of you will get this, all we could do was steal as many grains of falling sand as possible and try to put them back in our friend's hands so we could share that special space with him for as long as we could. Now, he would be the first to tell you how it is. He never met an opinion that he did not like. And he told me this off the cuff, and I'll never forget it, and I try to live by this. he hated when other people made it about themselves, especially when it came to his cancer. Buddy, it sucks that you meant so much to us, and we're all here shedding tears and grieving because we miss you and we love you. So, sorry. When the clarity of realization transcended denial and anger, you know, I got some real questions for you, man. Like, why did Cole always wear white? Because maybe he was our angel. And that's hard. It's a celebration. I chose to share with Cole the mark that he made on me. Once again, I'm sorry, Cole. And the mark that he made on me, an educator, a human, and a friend. And without betraying that confidential note, I'll say Cole's courage, his passion, his strength, his attitude, his love, his humor, his positivity through the depths of monumental trials of terror, frustration, pain, loss were never lost on me. And I hope never lost on others. It will never be forgotten. So that's the thanks I give for Cole and his existence in my life. Now, if you'll indulge me as a thespian here, and Cole being a thespian. Sorry, Cole, I know. One of the last things I did when Cole was with us was to ask Cole's father, Ryan, to ask Cole what his 2 favorite jokes were. Well, Cole didn't hold back. And the first one I cannot share in polite society. And I'm sorry. But the second one I can. But I'm going to need your help. Are you willing? Yes. Excellent. All right, here we go. Knock, knock. Who's there? Okay, that's not bad. I don't know if Cole would, but you know, he'd probably direct us a little bit differently. Okay? Jamaican. Jamaican me crazy. Thank you. We miss you, Cole.
One of the first times that I met Cole was actually, he wasn't even in my class, he was in Mr. Goldson's class, and he had told me something about one of the commercials that his class had done. My classes had done some okay stuff, they weren't very good, but then he showed me Cole's project, the bottomless backpack, and I was blown away with how engaging he was and how seriously he took this really silly project of making a product up that didn't exist, and it was one of the most professional things that we have seen done in all of our classes ever, and doing that project. So that was really fun to see, and that carried over when he came into my class. His ability to take whatever project that we had, whatever assignment that we had, he would bring himself into that, and he would exude not only the confidence as an actor, but just the pure joy of doing something fun and creative, that it was really easy for other people in his groups to take that energy, and then their products became better just by being around somebody like Cole. And we always joke about the fact that our classes in filmmaking are not acting classes and how we make terrible videos. But having someone like Cole come into the class and be parts of different groups with different people elevated their ability then to take these projects and not only make something that was fun for the class, but to make something that they were proud of. And that's something that I'm going to forever be thankful for Cole, because he helped instill that desire to make something that the kids can be proud of. And he, no matter what project he was working on, whether it was a commercial or making a short video, last year definitely he shined quite a bit with the groups that he was working with. It just made everything better, and he just had so much fun, and everybody else has so much fun, and they really looked forward to watching Cole's performances because they knew it was going to be something good. And it's going to be really hard to continue on without having someone like Cole in class. We're going to miss him tremendously. Everybody in class that was in his classes, they all miss him, and they wish that he was here and that he could continue on with them, but he can continue on in spirit. And in the guidance that he gave us in terms of the videos that he has, we'll be able to use those going forward for examples to show other people what they can do if they just care a little bit, if they try a little bit harder, or if they just try to put themselves into their products a little bit more. That's going to be Cole's legacy for us, that he's going to be able to lead on through example of how to do things right, but also just how to do things fun, and how to do things with some entertainment and joy, and how to just bring up those around him. So with that, I think I'll stop there. But there's lots of things that I could say about Cole, but I want to dominate the time. He's going to be sorely missed, and we really wish that he was still here with us. But we're thankful for the fact that he was part of our classes, and I'm thankful as a person for having had the experience to be with somebody as special as Cole. Thanks, you guys.
Hi, pedophile here with the new bottomless backpack from the BJ Company. The backpack that never gets damaged and never gets full. It can fit all types of things. Water bottles, hammers, or even nails. It can even fit a computer.
I like the color, I like how durable it is, and just how it can hold basically everything.
To show how hydrophobic this backpack is, I soaked it in a bucket of water. It's perfectly dry.
I like how durable the bag is, and I also like how big the bag is.
It's even dirt phobic. See? Perfectly clean. Sir, what do you think of the bottomless? Oh my god, it's bottomless.
Oh my god! It's amazing!
Sir. Pedophile here from the BJ Company. What do you believe about the bottomless backpack? It's bottomless. It's completely durable and it holds an infinite amount of space. What do you think about it?
I love it. You can also wear it as a hat.
It has so many uses!
It does!
If you call now to 111-111-1112 or text, "Oh my Lanta, it's the bottomless backpack" to 111-111, we'll throw in our new bottomless backpack for only $19.99 with a wide variety of colors. And if you call in the next 23.5 seconds, we'll throw in our new bottomless cup, a cup with the same innovative and physics-breaking technology as the bottomless backpack.
With our reporter, Clark Dixon. Clark.
Thank you, Crab. Here in Georgia, things are peachy. We have a high of 82 and lows in the mid-50s. Things are fine here. Now, as for the nation, we have the usual devastating forest fire in California, but apart from that, the nation is particularly fine. Back to you, Crab.
Fall semester of 2022, I received word of an incoming freshman in my English honors class who is determined to be at school despite yet another setback to his health. But a request. Can he possibly sit by an air purifier? Of course. Cole would sit in the same seat, front row, right across from the air purifier for the next 2 years. But he didn't just come sit in my class. Despite not having been in the classroom for the last couple of years, he jumped right in. He immersed himself. He learned the vocabulary words each week, even if he didn't always have a chance to take the quiz, because he didn't want to ever use what we called his cancer card. He not only read the Odyssey, he became Elpenor, performing the best creative interpretation of a character who has a little too much to drink and falls off of a roof. He nailed it and indulged us in an encore performance. Fall semester of 2023, Cole is back, same seat, front row, right across from the air purifier. Again, he immersed himself. He dove right in. And when he couldn't be in school, he became the best student who missed so many of my classes that I've ever had. Not to mention, he also believed my class to be one of the most important, if not the most, as he prepared himself for AP. I'm not sure if even as an English teacher I have the words to fully articulate the amazement in his resilience and fortitude, as well as his desire to continue to learn and to master. Fall semester 2024, Cole's seat remains front row, right across from the air purifier that I still turn on every single day. Thank you, Cole, for allowing me to be your teacher.
Hey everybody, my name is Nate Rashavi and I am a social studies teacher here at Mountain Vista, and I met Cole the second semester of his freshman year. I was going to have him for world geography, and when students have a special circumstance the way Cole did, teachers are usually prepared or prepped about their special circumstance, and this certainly was the case. Both Mr. Hale, his first semester teacher, and Ms. Slaughter, his counselor, came to me before the second semester started to just let me know about Cole and what his circumstances are and what type of a kid he was, to just sort of prepare me for meeting him. But then I remember the first day when I actually did meet him, and nothing could really prepare you for meeting Cole. The first thing I noticed about Cole were his eyes, and he had the most inquisitive, curious, deep eyes that he would just look at you and you knew that he was comprehending and thinking about everything you said, whether it was just like a part of a conversation or a lesson or whatever. Is honestly, as a teacher, a lot of times when you're looking or talking to students, you just get like the dull stare of a dairy cow coming back at you, but not Cole. Cole was inquisitive and curious and passionate to learn. And so I talked to him as we got started about what expectations were, and I really wasn't going to be too concerned about his grades. You know, he was fighting battles larger than any of us had to fight, and it was about his attendance and just about his participation in everything. And so I was prepared for some struggles, just knowing what Cole was going to have to do. There wasn't any struggles from Cole in world geography class. I am the type of teacher that will give A's, but I'm not necessarily the one that gives 100%. Like, I can always find something wrong with the work that you do. And with Cole, I did, to the point of we had 512 points in that class his freshman year, and Cole missed 6.5 total. Highest grade in his class, highest grade anybody got that entire semester in world geography. And so I was so thrilled when he signed up for and took contemporary world issues last year as a sophomore, last year at this time, for him to join my class again. And what was great about Cole is that he would think deeply about these issues, and he would talk, and he would want to get drawn into conversations. And sometimes I think he'd get frustrated because the other kids in his class maybe weren't as into it as he was. So he'd be stuck talking to me about whatever issues, Russia, Ukraine, or climate change, or gun violence, or whatever we were talking about. But he would still just have this huge depth of thought. And, you know, second semester, especially last year, his parents would send out these emails to teachers and to people in Cole's life just talking about what Cole was doing after school and going to children's and having hours and hours and hours of treatment. And I would never expect that he would get his work done or be at high quality, just knowing how hard he was having to work just to be a part of school and what he was going through. I would have expected him to take extensions, to miss assignments, to take full advantage of whatever he could while he was fighting a much larger fight than turning in homework for your sophomore elective class. And Cole never missed an assignment. He never missed anything and never made his situation an excuse for not doing the very, very best work. And so last year, there were 347 points in his Contemporary World Issues class, and he slipped a little bit. He missed 9 total points on that 347, and 5 of them were one assignment because he just didn't read the instructions right. And that's what I remember about Cole, is first of all, he never wanted to make his situation an excuse for his effort. He was always there, second period, one of the first kids there, ready to engage and ready to be part of class, and he was so funny and smart and clever. And honestly, if Cole wasn't in the situation he was in, you know, as teachers, we have hundreds of teachers, of students of a semester. We teach thousands and thousands of them over the course of a career. And for Cole, if Cole was never in the situation that he was in, Cole would have been one of those kids that I always, always remembered. Just one of those handful of kids that stood out. And this is without whatever situation he was in. This was just Cole. But because Cole was in the situation that he was in, and because Cole had to fight the way that he did, Cole has gone, at least for me, from being a student that I'll always remember to being a student that will change my life. I'm going to look at my own kids and my own students and everything in my personal life differently because of the relationship I had with Cole. And if Cole were still here, God, I wish he was still here, I would just want to ask him a simple question. So Cole, what do you think? Because Cole was never shy about sharing what he thought. Cole always had an opinion, whether it was about the Mongols, or should we have dropped the bomb in Hiroshima, or any of the topics in contemporary world issues, or just life at Vista. Cole was always ready to share with a sense of humor and positivity and the type of thing that I will carry with me and will be a part of me for the rest of my career and for the rest of my life. And for that, I am so thankful for have known Cole, and I wish he was here again to tell him everything that I just said. So thank you, Cole. I love you, man.
Not only was Cole somebody that just I loved seeing around school and one of my favorite people to talk with, but also being someone that directed shows he was in and helped teach classes he was in. I felt like it was my job to help him learn and grow as an artist. And, you know, he would tell me he looked up to me, and all I could think was that I looked up to him and that I was learning from him, because he just had this way of putting his whole heart and soul into everything he did, and he never asked for recognition, he never asked for praise, and he would hold everybody else to that standard of like, this is what we should do, and we should do it with love and care for the people around us, because he just brought everyone so much laughter and so much joy. And I just think we're all lucky to know someone that is that sharply intelligent and has that kind of wit, but also like a passion and just a warmth that draws people in.
Something that I always liked and respected about Cole is just how much that he brought, you know, to everything. His acting, his jokes, conversations, debates, advice, whatever it may be. It was just, he brought so much energy and life and laughter and so much. It was like this air around him that just, to say that he lit up a room when he entered it is an understatement, admittedly. And it's, hell, even the days that, you know, he didn't, it was more obvious that he had to push to give that energy, to push, you know, to put his all into it. He still did it. And he managed to do that every single day. And that, I respect him for it. Highly respect him for it. I don't think I know anyone else as strong as that. Yeah.
My favorite memory with Cole was during Miss Witherspoon, when during one of the scenes that we had off, we both went into the audience because I believe that I had asked if anybody wanted to go with me, and he said yes, and we just sat together, and we laughed so hard because this was during an earthquake scene, and our friend could not figure out how to be in an earthquake, and it was his first time with this awful Gandalf wig, and we were just laughing and laughing and laughing, and that, I think that's my favorite memory with him, because we didn't really say much when we were sitting there. We just had that like connection, and it was really, really nice, and that's my favorite memory to think back on.
Hi, I'm Reed, if you don't know me. And one of the One of the best memories I have with Cole was playing baseball throughout elementary school with him. Like I started with him and like I ended with him really. So we started on the same team and then we kind of moved our way up together and then we just kept going through that cycle. And like that was something that I remember a lot, was just like him pitching and me catching and like going through that process a lot. And yeah, one thing I liked about Cole was that like his sense of humor was very wicked, I guess. Yeah, that's the right word. It was very strong. He really just like let you have it. There was no one really safe from like what he thought, or not I guess what he thought, but like there was no one safe from him in a way. And like he would just do things that would just be like, man, I wish I had the confidence to go out and do that. And so that's one thing I really liked about Cole. And yeah, that's it.
Since I met him, I just looked up to him. He was just such a light. And everybody who met him, I mean, he was hilarious and he was so kind to everybody and he loved everybody and he loved everything he did, especially theater. He was such an amazing actor, and in all of the scenes we did and the plays we were in together, I remember during Oz we were both clouds in the tornado, and we were standing outside the auditorium by the doors, and we were just talking and, you know, trying not to laugh outside the doors, trying to be quiet, and before we went to run around in circles. A really like fond memory when I think of him. And we were in scenes together in theater, and I was really nervous, and he just said, like, you're gonna do awesome, like, you're a great actor. And him just being there and him telling me it was gonna be okay, just like, it made me feel like so loved. Just him, like, he was just such an amazing person that you just wanted to be like him, you wanted to be friends with him. And if I could talk to him again, I would just tell him how much he's inspired me and how much like love that he spread through everybody he met.
I met Cole during theater class, but we really bonded during the Fresh Soft Show callbacks for Governing Alice. I just remember him and Coulson reenacting Sims characters while we were waiting for like the directors to get ready, and I have videos of them like literally insane, and there's one of Cole like wiping his glass. Oh, it's so good. My favorite memory of Cole was during Senior Roses this past year. Everyone was sobbing, but he was just sitting there, and there's this really funny photo of me, Elizabeth, and Kate just like bawling our eyes out, and he's just in the background. And I remember him doing Catherine's Senior Rose and making all of us just sob even harder, and he's chilling and like making a mockery of all of us. What I really like about Cole was how confident and outgoing he was. He was the type of person to make like an awkward situation not awkward and just like make it a funny thing to laugh about. And his confidence during English class was really like, it really meant a lot to me. And it made me become a better student, like following how he did everything. Cole really valued life. He would live his life to the fullest and make most of every memory. He wouldn't look ahead in life, and he'd just stay there and be in that moment, and that's the biggest thing he valued. Thank you. You brought so much joy and laughter into this world, and the reason why we're all taking this so hard is because you really made an impact on our lives. And I just want to say thank you for that. And that we love you and that we all miss you.
I have so many good memories of Cole, but my favorites are simply spending time with him during Tempest. He would be at every tech Saturday, and he would stay late to make sure everything got done. He showed up to every rehearsal, no matter how tired he was there. Every time he walked into a room, he would have the biggest smile, and everyone around him would smile. He had such a big impact on everybody in our department, and when you talked to him, you could see this light in his eyes, and he would focus all of his energy on you and what you had to say. And during Tempest, it didn't matter how much the blocking changed, or the script changed, or how confusing the blocking got. He would take everything that was said and put his heart and soul into Trinculo and into the show. And watching Cole, Kara, and Catherine grow together was a magical thing to watch. They were constantly evolving together, and from their auditions to closing night, they just kept evolving and growing into themselves and into their characters. And as I'm editing Tempest now, being able to watch Cole perform as Trinculo in the film is the most riveting thing. I never realized while I was sitting in the booth calling the show that every time Kyle Van Stefano and especially Trinculo came on stage, every face in the audience would instantly light up. And Cole had a lot to do with it. He changed my life, and he changed the life of everybody he interacted with.
I met Cole, I believe, sophomore year during Oz. I did Chicago Tech, so I think I knew about him, but I just never met him before. Because I was hearing people say amazing things about Cole and whatnot, because he was just the most incredible person I've ever met. And I just laughed so hard that day, and he just made me laugh in a way that I don't think a lot of people are gonna make me laugh again. Because that's the thing about Cole, is that he was so funny because of how smart he was. You can't be that funny without being so intelligent. And Cole was one of the smartest people I've ever met in all forms. Like, not only school smarts, but street smarts and humor smarts and just acting smarts. He was a brilliant actor. It's like, that entire trip was some of the most fun I've ever had in my entire life, and I think a large majority of that was because of Cole. And I think Cole valued most in life was his impact on people and on his art of acting and on just the Vista community and the community that he had cultivated for himself. He was just so involved and so active and so present. Like, he always made me feel like he was listening to me 100%. And he always made me feel like whatever we were talking about was the most important thing in the world, and he did that with every single thing he did. Whether it was a 2-second scene in theater, he would put his all into it and make sure it was one of the best things he did, and then he would continue to improve upon that. He really was just the type of talent and the type of person that doesn't criticize you for your flaws, but also pushes you to be better by just being himself and by just being that incredible of a person. And if I could talk to Cole one more time, I probably would tell him that the new Fortnite season is crazy. And that me and everybody else who knew him and who was impacted by him loved him very, very dearly. And he left a mark on us all that will not be forgotten and will be felt years and years into the future. Because that's just the type of person he was. And we all love him dearly and miss him a lot, and yeah.
I first met Cole my freshman year in our Theater 1 class. And my favorite memory actually derives from that class. And it was our semester 1 final. And our final was to create these original fairy tales, our own original short plays. And I was in a group with Cole. That was the first time that I really got to get to know Cole and get to know his personality and just the person that he was. And I immediately realized he was the nicest and most genuine person that I had ever met, and I just immediately loved being around him, and I treasure every experience that I had with him. And I also realized how talented of an actor he was. We had just started at Mountain Vista and in Stage 5 Theater, and he was already so advanced and so talented at what he did, and I was amazed at how good he was at such a young age. I loved his sense of humor and how he was able to make everybody laugh, whether they were having a good day or a bad day. He always knew how to bring something to the room and make the environment even more lively. And I love how nice he was. He was just the nicest person to talk to, and you always felt happy around Cole. He was so supportive. Everyone knew that they could go to Cole if they needed help, if they needed a shoulder to cry on, if they needed someone to laugh with, if they needed someone to hug. He was always there, and that was really important to a lot of us. And he was one of the hardest workers I think I have ever met. Every single day, whether it was in theater or in academic classes, he was always willing to put in 110% effort and better himself at everything. And I learned a lot from his work ethic. Thing to see that no matter what, he just wanted to be with everybody, create memories with everybody. And that is something I will always remember about him, just how much he cherished friendship and all the relationships that he had. I think if I could say one last thing to Cole, it would be how he truly changed not only my life, but everybody's life, that everybody that he knew, he changed their life. Like I said, he was the most supportive person. He was someone you could count on, someone you could trust, someone that you knew could help you out if you needed it. And I truly think he is at the core of the theater friendships that we have now, especially in Theater 4. I think he's at the core of that family. He allowed us all to get outside of our comfort zone, meet each other, talk to new people, and that is how our Theater 4 family came about. And I truly think if it weren't for him, I don't know if our Theater 4 family would be what it is today. And like I said, he will always be at the core of that family, and he will always be a part of it for forever. He will always be the biggest part of it.
Cole was such a bright and beautiful soul, and I always wanted to be around him because I knew he would make me laugh. And I knew I could go to him and talk about literally anything, especially if it was like a topic he liked, because he would always be so passionate about it. I remember last year, my Theater 3 final, he came up to me after and just was talking about all the parts he liked, and I was like, whoa, this is so nice. And he like was analyzing it and was so passionate about talking about it. And I was just like, I love this, you know? And I remember him always being so open with people and being able to talk about what was going on in his life, especially to people who were close with him. And I remember like always being like so scared and like awkward to ask him about things because, I don't know, I was just scared. And he was just like, you don't, like, you're fine. Like, oh, ask me anything. I'm an open book, you know? And I admire him about that, you know? And I also admire his dedication. He always wanted to be the best that he could be, and he pushed himself along with so many others, including me, to be like the best version that they could be. And I still try to keep that in the back of my mind every day and do the best that I can. And I also look up to his talent and intelligence. He was so incredibly talented and smart, and I wish I could be able to possess his ability to make things look so easy and perfect. And he was just so good at what he did. And whether I was talking to him in English or theater or even playing Fortnite with him on the phone, which he was incredible at. It's crazy. I'm just so glad I got to be able to share those moments with him and be part of his story. And I'm also just so grateful I got to know him.
I met Cole, I think, during Witherspoon, but we didn't really talk until Chicago. And even then, when we weren't really friends, but we just talked, it was so natural. Like, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with anybody for like the first time and have it be that natural and have him make me laugh. And my favorite memory of Cole is there was a gap where he had to stay home for like 3 months, and my squad, we tried as hard as we could to FaceTime him at least once a week so he didn't feel alone and he knew that he had us there to support him. A funny story was during ThesCon. During me and the squad, we all were going to go get Jimmy John's for dinner because we were going to see Mean Girls that night. We were all ready to go. And we got Jimmy John's, we walked back, we ate in the girls' room, and we were all just talking, having a good time listening to music, and he opens his sandwich, and there's like this massive like hole this big in it, and he goes, "Guys, look at this!" And we were all just flabbergasted. We were like, "Oh my God, like, you totally got scammed." And he was like, "Yeah, $9 for what sandwich?" And it was really funny. We all loved him. And yeah. If I could talk to him, what would I say? I'd probably fill him in on what's going on in the media right now with like the celebrities and stuff, because that stuff's funny. And I would tell him that we miss playing video games with you. Like, how are we supposed to win a round of Fortnite without you? Because he was so good at Fortnite, it was crazy. And that we miss him, and I think everybody is trying to live up to the standards he set for himself and everybody else. We just, we all looked up to him so highly because he was so talented. So I think I would tell him that the whole theater department is trying to live up to your talent and your standards, and hopefully one day we achieve that.
I liked that he was really sarcastic and funny, and like no matter where he wasn't afraid to be himself. And I really admire that about him, because that takes a certain amount of courage that not everybody has. Like, he could get on stage and just, like, not even be himself, but like, he wasn't afraid to give everything his all. He didn't look like he ever had stage fright. He never was scared to get in front of a class and speak. Like, he was never scared to be him, which is something truly admirable that not everybody has. I think Cole valued, obviously, his family and his friends and the relationships he had, but he also really valued when people put an effort into things, because he was always putting effort into things. He never stopped giving everything his all. Like, he never stopped anything. Like, the world didn't end when he was diagnosed. He kept doing everything and accomplishing everything that he possibly could. And again, that's something that not everybody could have done. That was something specifically for him. That was something only he was capable of. And I remember he would get mad at people when they didn't put in everything, because for him it was either all or nothing. It was 100% or 0%, and for him it was always 100. And that's just amazing. Like, with everything he was going through, he never gave up. If I could talk to him one more time, I would tell him that he affected my life in ways that I could never articulate to him. Like, he affected my mindset. He affected the way I approach things. He affected the way I approach hardships. He really changed things about me. Like, he just was really influential in my life. And I tell him that I miss him a lot. So thank you, Cole, for everything.
Pause it. When I was 24 years old, so a couple years ago, I went through a rigorous 5-minute process to get ordained online so I could be the officiant at my brother's wedding. That was the last time I remember being nervous on a microphone. So last night, I don't know if you know, your phone listens to you sometimes. So last night I couldn't sleep, and I was scrolling through YouTube, and a video came on how to make a good public speech. So there's a couple ways to start. You can connect to the audience, check. You can get a couple laughs, check. And the last one is you can say some random facts that are amazing. So I'm just gonna steal the ones that he said in his video. There are more people living on Earth right now than have ever died, which is extra sad when you consider why we're here today. 2 minutes of sunlight, the amount of energy that produces for the Earth is enough to power all human consumption for a year. And this is not nearly as much energy as Cole had. Cole's life could be broken down into 3 parts. His early life in Arizona, the move to Colorado when he was a young athlete and sports were the center of his life, and then the most challenging times, most recently with the diagnosis, treatments, and all the things that he loved were being slowly stripped away from him. I met Cole when he was in this 3rd part. The thing that I try to wrap my mind around, though, is I didn't know that anything had been taken from Cole other than his health. I didn't know he used to run circles around kids in flag football like Walter Payton in the Tecmo Bowl game I used to play. I didn't know how good and talented he was at baseball, or even that sports were ever the center of his life. I didn't know he had braces for the pictures, maybe 12 years, I couldn't tell. He wasn't spending our time together dwelling on the things that had been taken away. He wasn't asking why all this had happened to him. He was actually incredibly excited to audition for The Tempest. He was diving headfirst into this new life in the world of theater, meeting what would become his forever friends, his people. Along the way, he was a kid who was sick, to be sure, but he was still a light to so many. Cole was only able to attend about half of my classes, and sometimes he'd be gone for a few weeks when he was getting treatments, or just didn't feel good enough to be there. But he'd always keep up on his work, and he'd let me know much he wanted to be at school even when he couldn't be. He'd come back, and inevitably I'd ask a question about the homework, and I don't know if you've ever taught a geometry class, but they're not fully into it. So I'd ask a question, and crickets would chirp, and silence would ensue, and almost exasperated, Cole would raise his hand. And I would ask him the question, and he would get it right every single time. He never missed a single question, and he earned the highest grade in my class, and he didn't even come to half of the days. Sometimes when someone we love passes, we have a tendency to romanticize their memory, to tell stories as if they were perfect. No one is, and Cole wasn't. But there's perfection in the imperfection, and I think a lot of our traits were shared. We had a tendency sometimes to be cynical and judgmental. Sometimes he'd stay after class and we'd talk shit. And it was petty and we knew it, but it also felt good. And he'd ask me how I managed to teach all these kids that didn't know what they had. They didn't know how lucky they were to get to go to school and to class, to walk up 26 stairs without having to take a break, to have their sports and their hair and their breath and their friends. I'd tell him I just tried my best to love them all. He'd laugh, because it was a ridiculous statement, and so would I. And I'd let him know he was my favorite without ever actually saying it. It was months after we met when I finally asked him about the slammer's hat that he wore every day. He told me it was part to cover the bald head from the chemo and part of him hanging on to that last remnant of some old life. It was both heartbreaking and inspiring. There was a part of him who missed that life that had been taken, and there was a much bigger part of him who was diving into that next passion. Enter the Tempest. So if I'm being honest, I've never understood Shakespeare. That night, though, something weird happened. It was theater in the round. We were right there, and I'd never felt so immersed in a production. At intermission, one of the leadership students that I brought to the performance asked me what was happening, and I knew what was happening. I told her the whole thing. She was like, "That's incredible. It was a minor miracle." But the thing that we talked about most was just how incredible Cole was that night. To get across that much humor, ridiculousness, emotion, all while wearing a mask was nothing short of extraordinary. There are these moments when someone is doing exactly what they're meant to do, whether it's Nikola Jokic playing basketball, Adele singing, Katie Ledecky swimming in a pool, Simone Biles on floor exercise, and that night I watched Cole do something he was supposed to do. It was one of the cooler experiences I can remember, and one that I will forever have an impact on me, the way I am, the lessons I teach to both my own children and those in my class. I've been lucky enough in the last 12 years to work with Make-A-Wish, and I've seen a lot of triumph, a lot of sadness, and an incredible amount of resiliency. I've shed tears from raw sadness and other times from humor and levity. The two young people I've met that have affected me the most were Marley Peck and Cole Frederking. Marley was our 2016 Wish Kid, who was the spark that lit the fire for MVHS Wish Week, and we lost Marley in February of 2019. Marley and Cole remind me so much of each other. In the wake of each of their passing, I've asked myself a very big question. I won't claim to know the answer, but this is what I've pondered. Were Cole and Marley always going to shine so bright? Or was the sickness, the treatments, and the perspective they gained that forged them into such incredible examples of the very best parts of humanity? Are we doomed to never know how lucky we are until everything gets taken away? Losing Marley then and Cole now, sorry, I know this is supposed to be a celebration, I'm doing my best. Losing Marley then and Cole so recently has threatened to break my spirit more times than I can count. There's one thing I do know with absolute certainty. I wouldn't trade sitting in the lobby at Children's Hospital when Cole passed, connected by that invisible string. I wouldn't trade having to say goodbye to Cole if it meant that I never got to know him. Cole's a shooting star, a raging tornado, an epiphany, and a salve to so many wounds. I will never ever be the same because of him, and I doubt that any of you will be either. But one thing that I will always be able to tell people with an incredible amount of pride is this: Cole Frederking considered me a friend. Thank you.
How did I meet Cole? I met Cole in May 2022 when he and Kim came in to get a look around Vista. That was the first day that I knew Cole was going to do things his way with no hesitation. What's my favorite memory of Cole? I have a lot of favorite memories of Cole, and they all involve him telling me a story and making me laugh. Sometimes the stories were mildly inappropriate. Sometimes they were explaining something to me that I did not understand. In every instance, he was animated, somewhat annoyed with my probing questions, completely accurate, and mostly patient. I'm not going to share any here because I promised him they would stay in the vault. What do you think Cole valued most in life? I think Cole valued appreciation most in life. If he were sitting here with me and I said that, he would already be thinking of a way to say it in a better way, but he would ultimately say, "Okay, I know what you mean." He never understood why people didn't appreciate the opportunities they were given, and I don't even think this had anything to do with battling cancer. I have a feeling he was like this long before. If you're able to do something, why wouldn't you try and do it well and give it the time it deserves? If a teacher or a coach or a teammate or a castmate is taking the time to put work and energy into a lesson or a practice or a rehearsal, why wouldn't everyone do the same? Prepare, practice, put in the work, perform. For yourself, but more so for everyone else and for those who can't. If you could talk to him one more time, what would you say? If I could talk to Cole one more time, I would say thank you. Thank you for showing me that punctuality is a demonstration of respect, and cheese sticks are a food group. Thank you for all the brilliant sunsets that began on August 16th. Thank you for sharing 2 years of memories and laughter. Thank you for trusting me to come along with you on your journey. Thank you for giving me the gift of knowing you. Part of me wishes it was for longer, but I know that even though I got 2 of the hardest years, I also got the best years. Because in difficulty, your brilliance shone. Here's a little something for Cole. Oh, wonder, how many goodly creatures are there here? How beauteous mankind is, oh brave new world, that has such people in it. I love you, buddy.
So, I don't need to touch that. These guys know what they're doing. I thought about what I wanted to say about Cole. It made me think more about sort of all of us and the realization that I had that I think the time that we had with Cole was give me this profound understanding of what it means to be a human, something I'm really interested in, and some serious insight into the significance of our human existence and our experience. Cole reminded us of the importance of hope that helped us treasure each moment with him, and also kept us focused on the possibilities of now, right now, this moment, as opposed to the perils of what was to come. And there's this hurt. I think that we only hurt this deeply when we love someone with every cell in our body. The richness of life, the joy of life also means that we have to feel grief and rage too. And a lot of these speakers and videos have talked about this, but there's this wonder. I could never ignore the truth that Cole was a kid who had cancer, even though that was the label that he most wanted to avoid. He asked me to see him as just another person, a really competitive and passionate one who wanted to prove something to the entire universe. Cole had that remarkable attitude and presence that he brought into every room. So you're about to see a scene from The Tempest. Cole's character, Trinculo, is a member of a traveling party that has been wrecked in a canyon by a vengeful witch. He's scared, he's tired, he's alone. He's completely unprepared to survive being marooned in the wilderness. Before that, you will see a brief video from Caliban, who is the person who comes on stage before him. You'll see it, it'll make sense. One of the most famous speeches that Shakespeare wrote is actually towards the end of The Tempest, and the main character, Prospero, describes her magic, a performance, that she created with her magic, but she also outlines the ordinariness and the fragility of living. She says, "These are actors. As I foretold you, we're all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yea, all which it inherit, shall dissolve. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep." And though I knew and loved those lines long before I met Cole, they seem appropriate and meaningful today. That time with him was a short but infinitely important moment in our lives. It will all fade into thin air. All that we inherit shall dissolve. Everything we do and achieve and are and feel is temporary, but it's not inconsequential. Cole was an exceptional, transcendent human being, and our life with Cole was infinite and fated to end. In this time and place, right? But not here. Our tangible, earthly, our flawed selves, we are the material from which our imaginations spring. We are such stuff as dreams are made on. And Shakespeare says on, not of, because the extraordinary task of being a human is a little morsel of magic. Cole's magic was this gift, this keen focus on the power and importance of being human, with hope, with hurt, and wonder.
The supermarket flowers off the windowsill. Pour the day-old tea from the cup. Packed up a photo album Matthew had made. Memories of a life that's been loved. Did the Goodwill soon cards and stuffed animals. Pour the old ginger beer down the sink. Dad always told me, don't you cry when you're down. But Mom, there's a tear every time that I blink. Oh, I'm in pieces, it's tearing me up. But I know a heart that's broke is a heart that's been lost. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my friend. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. And when God takes you back, He'll say hallelujah.